welcome you to the SYNAPSES International Conference of 2026. My name is Alexandros Pantazis, and I will be your chair for the next 2.5 hours. I work here in the Research Development Department, and I'm really glad to help you and guide you through this story. Over the next 2.5 hours, we're going to tell you a story, not just about a project, but about a movement that started almost 3 years ago. It started with a vision, it grows into the classroom, it transformed a national policy, and it was built for the educator who believe in it, who believe in change. Before we start, and before we tell you the story, I want to invite 2 people that have been instrumental into this change. The first one needs zero to a little introduction because it is well known for all of us here in the Greek education. Our next speaker is the president of the Institute of Educational Policy. His name is Dr. Spyridon Doukakis, and you're welcome to start your greetings.
Ωραία. Καλό απόγευμα και είμαι ιδιαίτερα χαρούμενος, νομίζω είναι η 4η φορά που βρίσκομαι με επίσημο καπέλο σε αυτό το εξαιρετικό χώρο που έχουμε την ευκαιρία πάντα να συνδιοργανώνουμε πράγματα και να κάνουμε δράσεις που έχουν αντίκτυπο στην εκκληστική κοινότητα. Θέλω να σας καλωσορίσω ως συνδιοργανωτές στο Διεθνές Συνέδριο που διοργανώνεται αυτό το διήμερο. Μια πρωτοβουλία που ουσιαστικά έρχεται να δείξει ότι η εκπαίδευση έχει μια δυναμική, την οποία όταν την αξιοποιούμε τη δυναμική της μπορούμε να κάνουμε φανταστικά, επιτρέψτε μου τη λέξη, πράγματα. Είναι πράγματι και εδώ ένας χώρος που και δημιουργεί και συνεργάζεται και μοιράζεται ιδέες και εμπειρίες και ένα όραμα για ένα σχολείο που κυρίως είναι ανοιχτό, δυναμικό και συνάμα ουσιαστικό και συνδεμένο με την κοινωνία. Σε αυτό το πλαίσιο, και επειδή εμείς ως εκπαιδευτικοί συνολικά, αλλά και ως κοινωνία έχουμε μια μεγάλη ανάγκη να εμπνέουμε τους επόμενους, τους νέους ανθρώπους, τα παιδιά μας και να τα ενδυναμώνουμε και ταυτόχρονα να τα κινητοποιούμε, χρειαζόμαστε στις σχολικές τάξεις να είναι και τόπος όπου αυτό μπορεί να ενισχυθεί και τόπος δημιουργικότητας και τόπος ενεργού μάθησης. Άρα, μέσα από την καλλιέργεια της βιώσιμης πολιτιότητας, που πρεσβεύουμε πολλά χρόνια όλοι μας, με διαφορετικές μεθοδολογίες και τεχνικές ο καθένας, αλλά σήμερα έχουμε φτάσει σε ένα σημείο που όλοι έχουμε εστιάσει και αξιοποιήσει διεθνή πλαίσια τα οποία μας εξυπηρετούν και δείχνει και μια παγκόσμια εικόνα του ενεργού πολίτη. Ερχόμαστε να δώσουμε στους μαθητές μας τη δυνατότητα να ανακαλύπτουν τον κόσμο, να εκφράζονται, να συνεργάζονται και ταυτόχρονα να συμμετέχουν σε κάτι που έχει και για τα ίδια τα παιδιά νόημα. Στο Ινστιτούτο Εκπαιδευτικής Πολιτικής, εργαζόμαστε πάνω σε αυτό το κομμάτι, θεωρώ, εδώ και αρκετά χρόνια με συνέπεια, ώστε να προσφέρουμε αυτό που λέμε ουσιαστικές ευκαιρίες σε όλους τους μαθητές και σε όλες τις μαθητρίες. Τόσο τα νέα προγράμματα σπουδών που έχουν δημοσιευτεί από το 2021 και το 2023 έχουν πάρει το ολοκληρωμένο ΦΕΚ, όσο και τα εργαστήρια δεξιοτήτων που τρέχουν και αυτά αρκετά χρόνια, αλλά και το πρόγραμμα σπουδών με τις δράσεις ενεργού πολίτη, είναι αυτά που ενισχύουν αυτή τη στιγμή το εκπαιδευτικό περιβάλλον που θέλει να συνδέσει από τη μία τη γνώση και την εμπειρία, αλλά από την άλλη το βάζει στο ένα πλαίσιο της καθημερινής ζωής. Με στόχο να αναπτύξουμε τις ικανότητες, δεξιότητες, αξίες και στάσεις. Σε αυτή τη διαδρομή, βέβαια, δεν πρέπει να ξεχάσουμε ότι για να φτάσει το Ινστιτούτο να εργάζεται πάνω σε αυτά υπάρχει κάποιος που μας καθοδηγεί και αυτός είναι πάντα ο Υπουργός ή Υπουργός Παιδείας στη συγκεκριμένη περίπτωση, η Σοφία Σαχαράκη, η οποία και αυτή με τον τρόπο της και με το έργο της εργάζεται και ενισχύει πρωτοβουλίες που οδηγούν σε αυτό που λέμε σύγχρονο και δημιουργικό σχολείο. Και εμείς ως Ινστιτούτο ερχόμαστε, το είπε και η Υπουργός χθες στη Βουλή πολύ εμφατικά, ερχόμαστε να αυτό που αποφασίζεται στη Βουλή και γίνεται νόμος του κράτους να μπορέσουμε να το μετασχηματίσουμε ώστε να είναι κατάλληλο για τους εκπαιδευτικούς και να νιώθουμε όλοι ότι έχουμε κάτι που αποφάσισε η η Βουλή και άρα το εφαρμόσουμε με κατάλληλο τρόπο στην εκπαίδευση. Ακριβώς το συνέδριο αυτό αποτελεί το συνέδριο αυτό και όλο το έργο, θα έλεγα, είναι ένα εξαιρετικό παράδειγμα ευρωπαϊκής συνεργασίας, γέφυρες μεταξύ εκπαιδευτικών σχολείων και συνάμα χωρών, ενισχύοντας την ανταλλαγή απόψεων και τη συλλογικότητα, τις καλές πρακτικές με την ανάπτυξη καινοτόμων προσεγγίσεων, και έτσι έχουμε την ικανότητα μέσα από αυτά να αντλούμε στοιχεία τα οποία στη συνέχεια, και ο Σοφοκλής που είναι εδώ το έχει κάνει σημαία αυτό το πράγμα, να μπορεί αυτά να έρχονται στη βάση στην εκπαίδευση. Και επειδή ο ρόλος μας ως εκπαιδευτικοί, έχοντας όλοι υπηρετήσει για αρκετό διάστημα και αυτό το ρόλο, είναι καθοριστικός, είναι αυτός που μπορεί να εμπνεύσει και να σχεδιάσει μαθησιακές εμπειρίες για τους μαθητές, είναι αυτός που μπορεί να ανοίξει δρόμους σκέψης για τα παιδιά μας και τη δράση τους. Έχουμε αναγκαιότητα, είναι ανάγκη μάλλον μεγάλη, να διαμορφώσουμε ένα κόσμο που τα παιδιά μας μέσα σε αυτό θα είναι συνειδητοποιημένοι αυριανοί πολίτες και κυρίως θα συμμετέχουν και θα έχουν αυτό που περισσεύουμε όλοι το τελευταίο διάστημα, να είναι εξαιρετικά ανθρώπινο πλαίσιο. Η συνεργασία του Ινστιτούτου με την Ελληνογερμανική Αγωγή έρχεται για μία ακόμα φορά να συνεισφέρει στην πραγματοποίηση ενός συνεδρίου σήμερα, το διήμερο αυτό, που είναι έμπνευση για όλους μας, ζηλεύοντα τους συναδέλφους στο Ινστιτούτο Εκπαιδευτικής Πολιτικής που δουλεύουν πάνω σε αυτό το έργο και το τι ωραία παραγόμενα έχουμε, και ουσιαστικά δίνει την ευκαιρία να αναδείξουμε σε όλη την εκπαιδευτική κοινότητα ότι μέσα από συνεργασίες μπορούμε να προχωρήσουμε μπροστά. Γι' αυτό και τονίζουμε συνέχεια ότι μαζί και μόνο μαζί μπορούμε να κάνουμε ένα σχολείο που θα είναι χώρος δημιουργίας, συμμετοχής και συνάμα ελπίδας. Και γι' αυτό το λόγο σας ευχαριστώ θερμά που είσαστε εδώ και εύχομαι να είναι πραγματικά ένα εξαιρετικό συνέδριο. Να είστε καλά.
Thank you, Dr. Doukakis. Thank you for your excellent speech. I think the Greek education is going many steps further with Institute of Educational Policy. And let's move forward to our next guest. And he is already well known for all those here in Attica. Our next speaker is Dr. Andreas Marinos, the Director of the Secondary Education of East Attica and Vice President of HISTEP. He has a PhD in mathematics and he's one of those people that are inside the classroom and outside the classroom, and he combined both, which is something really, really good. I would like everyone to welcome our next speaker, Dr. Marinos.
Καλησπέρα, αξιότιμοι κύριε Πρόεδρε, αξιότιμοι συνάδελφοι, αξιότιμοι ερευνητές, αγαπητοί προσκεκλημένοι, συνάδελφοι εκπαιδευτικοί, τα παιδιά. Με ιδιαίτερη χαρά είμαι μαζί σας στο διεθνές αυτό συνέδριο που κάνετε, το SYNAPSES Academies του 26. Ένα συνέδριο που δεν αφορά απλώς την εκπαίδευση, αφορά και το μέλλον της κοινωνίας μας. Ζούμε σε μια εποχή μεγάλων προκλήσεων, μεγάλων δυνατοτήτων ταυτόχρονα. Η κλιματική αλλαγή, η βιωσιμότητα, η κοινωνική συνοχή δεν είναι πια έννοιες θεωρητικές, αλλά είναι η καθημερινότητά μας. Και σε αυτή την περίπτωση η εκπαίδευση καλείται να απαντήσει με γνώση, αλλά και με δράση, όπως είπατε. Σύμφωνα με σύγχρονες διεθνείς έρευνες, η γνώση από μόνη της δεν αρκεί. Αυτό που κάνει τη διαφορά είναι η μετατροπή της γνώσης αυτής σε στάση ζωής και τελικά στην πράξη. Η εκπαίδευση οφείλει να καλλιεργεί πολίτες που δεν περιορίζονται στην κατανόηση των προβλημάτων, αλλά ενεργούν και συμμετέχουν προς μία λύση. Η έννοια της αειφορικής ιδιότητας του πολίτη που βρίσκεται στον πυρήνα του συνεδρίου σας εκφράζει ακριβώς αυτό, την ικανότητα να συνδέουμε το τοπικό με το παγκόσμιο, να αναγνωρίζουμε τις περιβαλλοντικές, κοινωνικές και οικονομικές διαστάσεις των προκλήσεων και να δρούμε υπεύθυνα και συλλογικά. Η διεθνής εμπειρία δείχνει ξεκάθαρα ότι οι πιο αποτελεσματικές εκπαιδευτικές πρακτικές είναι αυτές που ταυτόχρονα είναι και βιωματικές. που δίνουν χώρο στους μαθητές να ερευνήσουν, να συνεργαστούν, να δημιουργήσουν και να λάβουν πρωτοβουλίες. Έτσι δημιουργούνται οι αυριανοί ενεργοί πολίτες. Και σε αυτή τη διαδικασία ο ρόλος του εκπαιδευτικού είναι καθοριστικός. Ο εκπαιδευτικός δεν είναι απλώς ένας μεταδότης γνώσης, καθοδηγητής, εμπνευστής, φορέας αλλαγής. Αυτός που μετατρέπει την τάξη σε ένα εργαστήριο δημοκρατίας, υπευθυνότητας, αλλά και καινοτομίας. Το συνέδριό σας με τις εισηγήσεις, τα εργαστήρια, τις καλές πρακτικές, κύριε Σωτηρίου, που παρουσιάζονται κάθε χρόνο και σας ευχαριστώ για την πρόσκληση και τη συμμετοχή μαζί σας, αποδεικνύει ότι η εκπαιδευτική κοινότητα διαθέτει ήδη τα εργαλεία, τις ιδέες και τη δυναμική για να μπορέσει να προχωρήσει μπροστά. Αυτό που χρειάζεται να ενισχύσουμε τη συνεργασία, σημαντικό, να μοιραστούμε τη γνώση και να δημιουργήσουμε κοινότητες μάθησης που ξεπερνούν τα όρια της τάξης, του σχολείου, αλλά και της οποιασδήποτε χώρας. Γιατί η βιωσιμότητα, κοινές απαιτήσεις δεν είναι μια ατομική υπόθεση, είναι μια συλλογική ευθύνη. Ας αξιοποιήσουμε λοιπόν αυτό το συνέδριο, όχι μόνο για να ανταλλάξουμε ιδέες, αλλά και να ενισχύσουμε ένα κοινό όραμα. Μια εκπαίδευση που διαμορφώνει πολίτες ενεργούς, υπεύθυνους και ικανούς να διαμορφώσουν ένα πιο δίκαιο και βιώσιμο μέλλον. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you for your perspective in the field of education. I think this is the grounding we want into for this conference. Thank you very, very much. Before we continue to things, the next presentation will be in English, so you do not need a translation, the English speaker. And the second one, in case you want to share your experience here in Synapses, we invite you to use these tags if you want to tag us in your social media. We would be very thankful for that. And now, let us begin our story. A story started 3 years ago with a vision of what education for sustainability citizenship could look like across Europe. And who is better to present that start of the history than our next speaker? Our next speaker works in the University of Bayreuth, and he is the coordinator of our today's project, SYNAPSES Academy. So I want everybody to welcome our next speaker, Professor Dr. Franz Bogner.
Good evening. Curious to hear you. The rest, sorry, is in English. But since I did my first trip as a student in 1975 to Greece, I understand a little bit. But unfortunately, my colleagues are such good in German or in English that I never really learned Greek. But I have to say, in my high school, I had to survive 5 years of ancient Greek. And I did my final exam in that. And you see, I'm still alive. So, let's talk about a European project which is now in the final mile. We called it Sustainability Citizenship. And since most of the people are here, I decided to put in the picture. Could the partners please stand up, that everybody knows where the workers were, who did the job? We started 3 years ago, and you see this is in Germany. It was 4 some time ago. And let me go back. The important thing in this project is that we brought together the different expertises. That means we had 3 universities, 1 NGO, 2 schools, European Association, Professional Development Academy, and University and Ministry. And this is the secret for being funded, to bring the different pieces together, not just universities. And when we talk about education, we should not talk about teacher, we should talk with teacher and bring the teacher into the action to us. So, oops. I would like to raise 3 issues. First issue about the project, which takes me about 10 minutes, or even longer, we will see. Then how we embedded the synapses into schools, and how we supported the whole school approach to sustainability citizenship, and we will immediately go after that to some presentations of really action, how to bring theory into practice. Oops. So, why we are doing this? All of you know this. This is the Earth overshoot day, and you immediately, I can promise you immediately look, where is Chris? Not in a worse situation, because the worst situation is up here. That means even in February, the ecological footprint is already done. For countries like Luxembourg, which is a European country, because of the industry, and of course because of America, and there are other players, Ecuador, Cuba. For them, the Earth is more or less enough for 1 year. That means education has some issue, has some challenge to cope with that. Oops, technique. Let me focus a little bit on the synapses in a nutshell. Of course, we wanted to work with a multiplier. Teachers are the multipliers. Without the teachers, you cannot change a lot within the young generation. That means we worked with pre-service teachers, which were more or less my students, and we work with in-service teachers, because most of you are teachers here. Teachers influence 40 generations of young kids. And therefore, if there's a mistake there, you have multiplied the mistake 40 times. And therefore, it's very important to work with in-service teachers, and then, of course, help them, find them where they are, because teachers are already doing a good job, but help them to do the job a little bit better. And do this, we call it the paradigm shift, to really help for a more sustainable life in the next generation. All of you know these 17 different issues of education for sustainable development. I don't want to go into the detail, but of course our work plan, which is in the upper line, followed this. This works here. No. Technique is always a thing of how it works. And this was our work plan for the last 3 years to really come to our product, which we just harvested yesterday. Yesterday we had the final meeting, because the project is now more or less over. So, what is the problem? I put in some German slides, and I can promise my last slides are in Greek. But you don't have to understand German. You immediately see what's the problem. All of us know that there is a need to change us, but we have some problems with our behavior. It's like for the medicine people, all of them know that smoking is not good, but what they are doing, that means this is the gap. And we have to help to bridge this gap via education. So, now a little bit of theory. When we are talking about behavior, of course, we should know how to behave, but we also should bring this to a behavior. That means we have to deal with the attitudes. Attitudes, luckily, was my research field for the last 30 years, because attitudes is a very complex thing, And for about 10-15 years, my group tried to localize or to narrow attitudes to more or less two red umbrellas. One is for how your willingness to preserve nature, and the other one is your willingness or your preference to use nature, to utilize nature. And this was a long, long story. And the good thing in the story was that this model was not just another model. It was really established in the field because many other groups challenged it and luckily confirmed it, you know, which is the rule in science. And for example, this was a study which we did just 10 years ago, something like that. You immediately see that the two attitudes, utilization, preservation, they are linked to the knowledge of the students. For example, on the left side you have knowledge 0, 1, 2. 0 means this know the students before they learn something. 1 means what they know immediately after a lesson. And the wonderful thing is, 2 means what they still know 6 weeks later. And most of the teachers know 6 weeks is a long time for the students. That means if students still know something 6 weeks later, you can say, job achieved. You know? And you immediately see that there are strong correlations between what. How could we solve this? Do we have a pointer here? Yes. Here you see when students have a preference for utilizing nature, they know less. It's a negative correlation. It's the same after then, after 6 weeks later, they know less than the persons or the students who prefer to protect nature. There's a strong correlation. Point 3 is a lot in education. It's not a lot in physics or in science, but in education is a lot. Thank you. Of course, we can make this story more complex, and I have a strong look to your faces, how detailed I should explain this. Here you see what the kids know, here is their behavior, and here are the attitudes. And you see there is a strong positive correlation to each other, and of course you see that many other attitudes are feeding the behavior. For example, what do you eat? How do you deal with waste? How do you deal with energy? How do you deal with mobility? And so on. And it's the same here in the environmental attitudes. Of course, I don't go into the detail because I was asked to do everything in half an hour. This is a study from Cuba. Since I'm a guest professor in Cuba, I have the chance to reach the student there. And you immediately see as more the kids prefer to protect nature, as more likely they are doing some behavior. There's a positive correlation. And in another way, it's a negative correlation as more as they prefer the nature. It's easy to explain, but you have to prove this with student questionnaires, and in Cuba it's much easier to reach the schools as it is in Europe. I can imagine. In Germany it's a nightmare. So I think you are still alive. It's my last difficult slide. It's a little bit more complex. I showed you already attitudes have a positive effect on the behavior. But the knowledge, it's not just the knowledge. The knowledge is more complex. The knowledge is, of course, the system knowledge that you know everything, but it is also the effectiveness knowledge. That means you should know what you have to do to save the nature. And it's the action-related knowledge, you know. And this is more difficult and more complex. And since this is not a scientific seminar, I think I stop explaining this in this complex way. So, what did we do? First of all, we brought this scientific theory to a digestible intervention for students and for teachers, because the teacher has to do it. And then, of course, we had a roadmap. First of all, we had a theory, then we developed best practices. In my very last slide, I will show you several of these best practices. Then we have training activities. That means without the students, it's not, without the teacher, it's not working, and so on. This was more or less the roadmap for the last 3 years. It looks simple, but it was, of course, complex. These were the partners, and these were the numbers which we did. We reached about 5,000, a little bit more than 5,000 teacher, pre or in-service teacher. That means, of course, it's just a drop, but when we want to change something, we have to start from the beginning. These are the numbers, how much teachers were reached in the different countries. Greece always is our best partner of doing the most interventions. And in my country, we are normally not the best partners, because in Germany, the bureaucracy is really double the European one. It's not easy in Germany to do that. So, this was the first chapter. The second one is, okay, how we embed this in the everyday life of here are just a few other European projects which are doing more or less the same, you know, intervening with some behavior, with food, with transportation, with even eco-schools. That means there are different options to intervene with the education system. Here, these were some examples, and since we are in EA here, 1 week ago, Angelos is here, 1 week ago, the Eratosthenes project was done again, which was initiated 20 years ago, Angelos? About. And I just asked him, 130 schools around the world participated. Some time ago, I did this experiment in Ecuador when I was there, because in Ecuador you have zero shadow. It's just measuring the shadow. And I just would like to show you what the kids are learning. You know, when the school in Palini worked together with Finland, the error is, forget it, it's 1%. But when the school in Palini is working together with Saloniki, 70% is something, you know. It's not as easy to measure it on very accurately. That means here you see immediately what schools are doing when they work together. Oops, we can skip this. And then when the Eratosthenes project is done, of course you have to measure the angle of the sun, and then you immediately come to the next example. When you put our solar panel, you should exactly position that it is bringing the best results. And here the school is a very good example. I think where's the picture? There was one picture about the solar panel on the school roofs. Some other examples for that, and the schools, when the kids are doing something, the kids help the schools to become innovation hubs in the green issues. You know, here, for example, is the canteen, the solar panel, and so on. And then it is sustainable when it is done bottom up and not top down. Oops. So now let's come to the last point. This whole school was how we bring a school, how we move a school towards more sustainability. Oops. All of you know this. You came in this way. This is a school as a driver, and there are some examples here from this school, starting from primary school. Of course, a primary school project is smaller than a secondary school project. Here was the school garden, or here it's the same, you know, to bring in more green into a school, or this example here, when there was this extension done. Oops. Here is my picture which I wanted to show you. This was the school some years ago. This was the school which it is now. That means there are solar panels out there, and the kids are really very involved in doing this. And there are, of course, many other issues about this. Another example of our project was a Swedish school in Siguna. This is more or less in the Stockholm area, and this school was within 3 years optimizing a lot the school buildings with the help of the students. It means, again, bottom up and not top down. And I think it's the best way to motivate the students for life when they see the success during their school time. A last example, which is an example here from the school, and it's a typical Greek example, because it's biomimicry. I have it in Greek, and you know, the ants, when they find a source of eating, they have a strategy that the roads are the closest as possible. And now you see the practice when we go to the next one, because you know that at this school we have a yellow fleet of buses, and of course there is always the need to optimize the daily way. It is already optimized, but what happens when these pupils are asked to even further optimize it? And the pilot study, is Thomas around? No? Because the pilot study brought already, it was done last year, when the students planned the way of the daily trip, and there was a saving of about 10% of the gas. Could you imagine? These are not professionals, these are students. The students managed to save 10%. And of course, this is now submitted for a new project, which hopefully will succeed, and then it will be done in a much broader context. So, many thanks. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. But now comes the theory to practice. That means what I told you now in theory. The students are coming, isn't it? Yeah? Afterwards, not now? Oh. After you, okay. Thank you very much. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you, Franz. Thank you a lot for your talk. You maybe give a teaser for the next presentation, which was my job, but I appreciate it to make my job really, really easier. So, you show us what is the whole school approach, what is the sustainability look like in classroom, but does it work? Our next speaker are going to show us if it is working and how it is working. In a minute, some students will go up to the stage and will present you their project, starting from primary school, going up to high school. But before we start, before we invite them, I want to ask you a simple question. Does anyone know here what is biomimicry? You can raise your hands. Okay, a more difficult question. Does anyone know how to explain it to the person sitting next to him? You can also raise your hands. Okay, this is what I expected. Don't worry, we're in a really good company because our next speaker are going to showcase what it is about. You know, biomimicry is one of those topics that you may see in a PhD thesis and not really in primary school, but we're here to present it to you. So I would welcome all the next student into the stage. So ladies and gentlemen, please applause for our next speakers.
Good afternoon, I am Katja.
I'm Vasilis.
I'm Alana. And I'm Evie. We are a group of 6th graders and we're here to share our biomimicry journey with you.
Biomimicry is when we copy nature's brilliant ideas to make our lives better.
But how? For example, a jackass feet can stick to walls, and this gives scientists the idea for Velcro.
But how does biomimicry work?
Nature shows us how to design better with simplicity and efficiency.
And why is it important?
Because nature inspires environmentally friendly and sustainable solutions.
Let's see how it all started.
It all started when our teachers talked to us about renewable energy sources and the way we can use them to produce electrical energy.
We found out that one of the most popular renewable energy sources is wind energy. But how can we produce it and use it?
Wind energy is converted into electrical energy in a wind farm.
A successful wind farm can be created if we find the perfect installation site and design the perfect wind turbine blade.
But how can we choose the right location for a wind farm?
We need to study several parameters.
Wind potential of the area,
Wind turbine and characteristics.
authorization process.
And construction constraints.
But how do we select the appropriate wind turbine blade? Biomimicry shows us the way. How does it work? Well, scientists study the bumps on the front edge of whale fins in order to improve movement.
Based on that, they improved wind energy and found designs to reduce air resistance.
So, we cover the wings of the dragonfly, the albatross, and the eel in order to create the perfect wind turbine.
And this is how we brought biomimicry into our class and into real life.
From wind turbines and wind farms, we move on to the optimization of the school buses routes. I'm Kostadinos.
I'm Mustanis.
I'm Theodoris, and I'm Minka.
We are a group of 8th graders, and based on the biomimicry rules, we try to find the best school bus route in terms of gas emissions and fuel consumption. We believe that that less time on the road means more time for learning and rest, while fewer emissions lead to a healthier planet.
More specifically, we examined and we learned how ants create the pups. We found out that there are a lot of things to learn about them. Ants, as they move on, leave behind them a pheromone trail. With this pheromone trail, they can collaborate, communicate, and identify the best route, the most efficient route to finally find the food source. Scientists have also modeled this strategy of the ants and made an algorithm. The ants colony optimization algorithm, also called ACO.
ACO is based around the calculation of a quantity called transition probability.
This quantity derives from two other quantities, the pheromone and the visibility.
So in our class, we simulated the process by sending 13 atoms to explore 13 different routes. And by calculating the transition probability, we reached some really interesting conclusions. So, the calculated route matched the actual one, the real route that the school bus take, by almost 80%. The only discrepancy in the route was two stops, the first and the last.
Even though we only send a small percentage of the math computational ability of the unquantization algorithm, we were able to achieve a great result in a really short amount of time.
Last but not least, it's important to remember that with the ACO algorithm, we have the opportunity to collaborate many further parameters such as bus capacity, weather, or even traffic.
Emmanuel, the algorithm is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm Emmanuel Saltes, and I'm going to be the less fun part of this project. Together we'll delve into more of the specific details about the ACO algorithm. First, we need to understand why we're going to need to use a code. Here you can see this following equation, which is called the factorial. Basically what this does is that it tells us the possible routes that can be as an outcome of the algorithm. You can see that if you put just 7 notches, 7 stops to a driver in a school bus, you get over 5,000 possible combinations. Some will say that, yeah, I can do this by hand. It will maybe take me days, but I can manage it. And I will tell them, just put 3 more extra stops and you will get over 3 million. This we need a use for an optimization of this optimization process. And for that, we are going to need to use Python code to implement the ACO algorithm. Now, let's be more specific. What is the first thing we need to do? First, we see what the distances are. And then we place them into an adjacency matrix, and then we start with the initialization. In the parameter initialization process, what we are doing is that we are putting the 4 basic parameters into our equations. The number of ants that are going to run into each of the number of iterations. The rho, which is called the evaporation rate, is a new component into this following model that is more advanced, being taught in high school. And last but not least, the pheromone level, the initial pheromone level, which most likely we put number 1 because of convenience reasons. Then, for the first part of the main body, what we need to do is to define our functions. First, you can see that when you have the driver, it starts from a certain point, he ends to a certain node. It's just a distance through all the possible stops that he wants to do. The first thing we are doing is that we're calculating the length of the tunnel. This is described by the following function. After that, what we need to do is to find our pheromone level for each of our iterations. This is described by the following equation. Now, the most important part to this whole process is how we are going to calculate our probabilities from moving from one node to the next one. This is represented by this example model, and in computational, it's like this. Basically, what we are doing is that we're multiplying the pheromone levels with the visibility rate, which is by a model of 1 over distance. Then, for the second part of the main body, we have some more technicalities on the algorithm that are still under process, but it is important to note the penalty function. Basically, what this does is that it tells us what our best route is going to be. So, for example, if the hand discovers a new best route, it places this as the standard best route. This is the same thing with length and route. But please keep in mind, this whole process has also positive results. This can be applied to the school bus network system that can shorten the time of the driver through the total distance. It can shorten and make easier and more cohesive the whole bus network of the school, being more sustainable and faster for students to go to school and get back from it. But it can also work in real-world transportation into also smarter and more sustainable cities. So what begins with school buses can lead to smarter and greener transportation systems. Thank you very much.
This was really remarkable, and if I may, I think that we need to give another round of applause for our students. I'm really honored to see all those students presenting such innovative project, and this is what looks like sustainability when you give it to the students, the receiver that was meant to be, and they advance it from primary school to high school, from really simple ideas to high difficult engineering solution. But how do we scale up sustainability citizenship? How do we move from the classroom into national policy? Our next speaker is more than capable to present it. Our next speaker is the Director of the Institute of Educational Policy. I want everyone to please welcome Dr. Evie Trouki.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining this final conference of the Teacher Academy of Synapses. I hope that this conference will also be a very inspiring experience for all of us. And the fact is that students' presentation is already a great source of inspiration, because what we just saw is exactly what we mean when we talk about sustainability citizenship in practice. Not as a theory, not as a research item, not even as wishful thinking, but as something that it is alive in the classroom. So the student's presentation has been the perfect starting point for my work, for my presentation here, because here today I wear two hats, one as a researcher and one as an educational policy official. And my role is to explain how through the SYNAPSES project, educational policy managed to catch up with what was already happening in the classrooms and in our society. And what we have managed is that active and sustainability citizenship are now recognized as core competencies in the current educational reform in Greece. So, what we just saw are very innovative activities. And one would ask, where is exactly the success for SYNAPSES project? Where is the innovation here? The truth is that similar activities are commonplace, not similar, but such activities are commonplace for many schools. Even when I was a student, back in the middle 80s, we had activities about the environment. Of course, we used to write long essays about environmental crisis and pollution, but we also used to plant trees in the schoolyard, and we also used to do recycling projects. So, I mean that this is not entirely new, but it was more like something nice that we do on Fridays. There was less like something that can really shape how students learn and think. So it seems that something was missing. And what was missing was that there was no common framework. No continuity, no consistency, no sense that all these activities are part of something bigger. And on top of this, there was always an unspoken question. If it's not in the curriculum, if it's not in the textbooks, if it's not something that we can assess, then is it really learning? So this is exactly the mindset we tried in Synapses to move away from, because students do not need another subject in order to learn how to be active citizens. What they need is meaningful experience, connections across subjects, and of course, opportunities to act. So in this shift lies the Synapses success story. It triggered the need that we need to offer teachers a comprehensive framework. And let me explain how this happened. Initially, there were always teachers who were engage their students in activities that address climate change, social inequalities, and similar issues. These activities were usually part of the formal school timetable, and they were implemented in distinct time blocks within this time plan. But they were often treated as a standalone activity block. It means that what was happening in this zone of activities, that initially we called them flexible zone of interdisciplinary activities, and now we call them skills labs, usually had nothing to do with what was happening in the rest of the school. It was disconnected from the rest of the school. And this led to fragmentation. However, these activities managed to create a critical mass of highly motivated teachers who are interested in activities that promote transversal skills and therefore go beyond teaching content. So this is exactly where the Synapses project came in. It attracted those teachers and provided additional resources, best practices, provided structured support that we call journeys, provided an extra space for action and interaction. The key concepts of Synapses project that students have to become agents of change at local, national, even global level, and the whole school approach are main ideas that promote and enable teachers to design educational scenarios that were not simply an add-on in what is already happening, but is about how to make students be agents of change. So, what makes Synapses a success story is that this synergy between policy and practice make possible the active citizens curriculum to emerge as the missing piece we were looking for. The active citizenship curriculum, it was introduced in November 2024 and is attached with all the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and promotes openness to new challenges, promotes initiative, promotes social skills and critical thinking. So what happened here is that thanks to this synergy, we are now talking about an integrated context for sustainability citizenship practice. This strengthens this coherence between theory and practice, and what makes Synapses finally a success story is that the link between theory, policy, and practice became stronger. And now we are talking about a learning ecosystem where students can act, teachers innovate, projects inspired, and policy is based on practice. We are now ready to go a step further through the Bridges project, which builds on Synapses project. And what our focus is right now is to collaborate with all of you in order to capture what is really happening in the classroom. We need to focus, we need to illustrate and make visible what the real impact is. So, to put it in a final sentence, the real challenge was not to make sustainability citizenship to fit in the curriculum. The real challenge was to make the curriculum fit the world our students are already trying to understand and change. Thank you very much. Thank you especially to the partners of our project. Thank you to the President of the Institute of Educational Policy for his support all these 3 years, and we hope that we will continue to support European funded projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evie. You show us how a vision can be transformed into institutional change, and this is wonderful. Thank you for that. But we all know that no policy, no framework, no curriculum could change without its heart of the project. And the heart of the project is the educators. And who is better to discuss about the community of educators than our next speaker? Our next speaker is Dr. Rosa Doran, the founder of NUCLIO and a true force in science education. Please welcome our next speaker, Dr. Rosa Doran.
Okay, good evening everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again in this beautiful room. We always meet here beautiful people with great minds. We had a few great talks. Wow, this is going along, that was not the idea. Okay, I have a Mac, this is not a Mac, this is... Okay, I hope it behaves now. If it doesn't, I will force it to. So, we had great talks, and they showed us that it's necessary to have a vision. It's necessary to have some policymakers to support it, but nobody can make it reality. Nobody can make those wonderful students be here if teachers are not converted, empowered, motivated to understand and implement what the visionaries are having in their brains. So, community building is the heart of every project. We might have a wonderful project that will not lead anybody anywhere if we don't convince teachers that it's helpful for them, that it can help progress in their careers, that can help them motivate and engage the students. So I like to use, I think I'm going to have to go back and forth the whole presentation. I apologize for this. So you all know this saying that it takes a village to raise a child, right? You also know that it takes a child to change the world. We also know that, and we know that one person can change the world for the better or for the worse, right? but it takes an educator to make it possible, whoever the educator is, whoever is the person that will make that child feel empowered to embrace their true nature, to become the best person that they can be. No more, no less. But it takes a teacher, right? Or an educator. Sometimes it's our parents. Sometimes it's just someone that crossed our way. So, teachers are designers of change. We know that. Teachers are the designers of our future. There is no sustainable future. There are no sustainable citizens if teachers don't embrace this mission. That is where our role is truly important, because we need to make it possible for educators to do what they do best. And this is something that we bear in our mind. So taking this into consideration, we came, of course, on board of SYNAPSES, very proud to be partners and to support the implementation of a vision that is built throughout these years, working with EA and several of the partners, which is the importance of the pillars of community building. How do you empower educators? It's not providing teacher training, it's not only going to schools, it's not to have a good policy, it's not to have evaluation or dissemination. It's a conjunction of things that make it possible to really empower. It's a lot of work, and this is what we do in these projects, okay? And so this is what I want to show you. So with SYNAPSES, we are raising the trend to new things like whole school approach, sustainability citizenship in action, green ecologies, living labs, biomimicry. So we are bringing teachers completely out of their comfort zone, and if we don't provide the necessary support, magic like what we saw today will not take place, will not happen. So I'm going very quickly to one by one of these slides. So we start with engagement, and engagement is like a publicity act. I have to convince the teachers that I meet that it's super cool to participate in our projects, that they will have the benefit, that they will co-create things that are valuable for them and that are valuable for their students as well. So this is one of the most important parts, and usually is where every project fails, because we are reaching frequently to the converted ones. And I was telling you today in our meeting, I want to go to supermarkets, I want to go to streets and talk, are you a teacher? Are you a teacher? Did you know about this? Did you know about that? This is the most difficult part. How do we convey the message that there is a new project? Easy. But that there is a new project that will also provide professional development and support and involve the community and be there for you until you accomplish and you feel confident to deliver that message to your students. So we do this engagement part with the visionary workshops, which is a trend in the projects that we work with, where we show to the teachers what is our ambition. What is it that we want to do? What are we offering? And we onboard them. So these are some pictures of visionary workshops that took place in SYNAPSES. Then, of course, the second important part is the professional development. Providing professional development is something that lots of projects will do, but without the engagement of the teachers, so they know what you are asking and what comes next. It will be just a good moment where everybody shake hands, give good smiles, hugs, it was nice seeing you, and it will not go anywhere else. So professional development is important, and it's important also to take on board who are the teachers and what are you preparing them for. So this is another step. The third step, and equally important, is the support. So you teach something new, you provide professional development in something like biomimicry. Everybody is confident here to go home and practice biomimicry yourselves? No, right? But if I tell you, okay, Talia, will you help me? Will you please come to my school and show me how to do it? How do I program in Python? Where do I start? If I know I have a door to knock on, if I am in panic mode, then I probably will embrace it, because I saw those students. They were motivated. What made them want to do that? right? So this is something that is important. And again, this is something that we are doing in Synapses. There is a lot of support online. There is a lot of support face-to-face by each national coordinator that is there for the teachers when they enter panic mode. Even if they don't enter panic mode, we are there for them. Then we do, of course, another important thing, which is reflect with them. What worked? What didn't work? What do we need to change? How do we accommodate better the results of the project to you, to your school? What do we need to change in the website, in the platform, in the training? So these practice reflection workshops are really very good. It's a moment where you get to talk to the teachers. Recognize the effort. Of course, I mean, teachers work like hell. They work a lot. And we should recognize and give proper visibility to these success stories of all the teachers in the world. I never met a teacher that doesn't want their students to succeed. Never. But I met a lot of teachers whose effort go unrecognized for their whole life. So recognition is important. Then we have, of course, the community involvement. I don't know how many times I heard, including some of you, oh, your ideas are amazing, but what about the parents? They don't want me to involve their kids in projects or in things that will waste their time. They want me to prepare the students for the exam. So how do we support teachers to cope with that and to do that in spite of all the exams? Well, it's involving the community and showing to the community that the students are not working only for themselves, but they are supporting the community and they are working with the community. And this is super important. So parents come and understand that what their children are learning is beneficial for themselves. How do we do that with teachers? Well, there are tricks, and this is what we are doing also as part of our Synapses efforts. The other thing that is important is dissemination, is to showcase, is to tell schools. Tell the world about what you're doing. Everybody should know, and you have other people coming and trying to replicate what you're doing, right? Show to the world. This is another important part. And finally, of course, not always possible, evaluate the results. And we are doing that in Synapses in several different ways. We have experts in the field that are evaluating the results, and we are always looking to new possibilities. Like, for instance, we organize, and we are organizing at this moment, the summative workshops, where we are asking the teachers, what worked, what didn't work, what should we do different, will you continue with us, and if you are, what do you need, and if you don't want, why not, so that we can comply with what you need. This is the Synapses portal. Now it's good that you advanced it. Synapses portal has, as I said, all the materials are available for the teachers for their own commodity. They can go and explore it online. You will see that there are many best practices, like the one that you saw today, for them to inspire themselves. But there are others, just for them to learn new things. But we have also communities of practice, where they get to know colleagues from the country, from other countries. They get to meet each other, to exchange, to have joint projects. They have their own personal profile, where they can have a blog and make friends. It's like a social environment for them. We have that in Synapses. And we have what we call the journeys, which is where we share with them all these innovative things like whole school approach, green learning ecologies, living labs, biomimicry, inquiry-based learning, design thinking. I mean, there are so many different words to explain how to teach or how to facilitate learning properly. And what we are telling them, the name doesn't make any difference. Don't tell anyone that I'm saying this. Because it doesn't. It's the methodology. It's the way that they feel better. It's the way that they will localize it for themselves. That they will feel this is mine and it's working for my students. It's motivating them. How to make sure that what they have to teach is aligned with the curriculum. So all of this, not all of this, but plenty of this information is available in the portal. And of course, it's there's also a lot of information on how to empower the students, which in the end is our goal. I see many projects, not the ones where this house participates, luckily. Maybe that's why we love working with EA. But I see other projects that, they tick a lot of boxes, but they never reach out to the students. And then they go to cemeteries of projects where, we spent a lot of money. They did wonderful things. It's all there on the internet, available for free, and nobody is using. I saw that a lot in my life. But so, in Synapses, we are making sure, and now with the next project, Bridges, that this will reach out the hands of students again. We had a lot of beautiful webinars, newsletters, and we also initiated this trend of having discussions in the communities where they were discussing about specific topics of interest of Synapses. We made publicity on social media. We didn't actually nail yet how to get the teachers to come to the communities and benefit from that, but we are getting a hang on it, and beautifully designed. And I think this will become a trend in the next project. We also had support for schools to presenting KA1 and KA2 proposals so that they can have mobility opportunities and they can collaborate with other schools through Erasmus opportunities. And part of the work is materialized in the summer schools. The European School Innovation Academy is running this summer school every year in Marathon. Who here has been in Marathon before to a summer school? Okay, I was expecting more hands. Okay, well, if you didn't go, make everything you can to go because they are amazing. I remember the first time I was in such a meeting, I saw, I don't know, hundreds, 100 teachers from different countries, different projects, in a vibrant environment where everybody was exchanging everything they knew. Many of them didn't speak English, but it didn't matter. They communicated like if they were kids. So we provide several of these opportunities, and Synapses organized 2 summer schools, and I decided that I'm not going to tell you what happened. I will go like step by step to tell you what can be your very near future. I will give some spoiler alerts. If you go to these summer schools, you will have for sure unforgettable moments. You will have for sure new friendship. Every year a lot of new beautiful friendships are established, long-lasting collaborations, and a community of world changers. These are people that are really going the extra mile, and when they go back to their countries, they make a difference. They are educating the future agents of change of this world. Teachers are the most important profession in the world. It is in schools that we define the future of humankind. So pay attention to this, and I will now show you what happens when you take these opportunities. think I will end the presentation here. I could narrate the slides, but it will be a long, long, long story. So I hope you enjoyed and that you will join us for the next projects and the next summer schools.
Thank you, Rosa. I want to thank also every speaker and every participant being in this room. Being here is essential for the change we want to create through our project, and we're really grateful for all of you being here. So let's wrap up all the story we hear today. We started with a vision, how the project started, what was the mentality and all the idea behind it. Then we move into classroom, and students showcase how they did it into their classrooms, and they do great, if you ask me. Then we continue with the policy, how we extend that idea into a policy reform. And I think here is success behind Synapses. And at the end, we discuss about the community of educators. This is what is about, this is what our project is about. Because in the heart of our project is the educators, and the educators who want to become agents of change with their students. So, this was for today, and I want to thank you very, very much, but we are not yet done. Because now, everybody is welcome to eat with us. We'll have dinner at the restaurant, and for those who feel adventurous today, we will have a guided tour from Dr. Sophocles who will guide you through the seismometer, pendulum, and the observation, the observatory of Ελληνογερμανική αγωγή. So, if you want that food, you can follow me. If you want an adventure trip inside the school, you can follow Dr. Sophocles and that was all for me. Thank you very much. An applause for all of you.